videos for the next 6 months. I'm not going to delete the class until quite some time from now. So, all right. So, welcome back to class, guys. So again, this is going to be continuing off of chapter 10. We got to look at setting up our payroll items, setting up our taxes and when to pay them, and also setting up our employees. So in this section here, we're actually going to be taking a look at what happens if we use Intuit's payroll services. So yay, so we get to look at a free sample file. Okay, so that's what it notifies you when you open up this file, that it is a sample file and all the dates are already set to December 15, I think, or I think the paycheck or whatever it is, it's set to December 15. All right, so again, we're going to be taking a look at how easy it is to go ahead and process your paperwork or your paychecks. It's so simple. All right, so first, little things that you should check, of course, if you are the HR or the person who's in charge of payroll. Here are a few things that you should know or should generally do as a payroll person. Okay, so your responsibility is going to be broken down into certain little timelines, we would call them. So every payday, right, you want to ensure that all your employees turn in a timesheet and make sure that, if you have new employees, they're inside the employee center, but also to make sure that you update any changes that have been made to each paycheck. So verify and confirm and make sure that each paycheck or is correct. Okay. You're also going to correct any paychecks if necessary, and then also you're going to print pay stubs and stuff like that, just to have records in your files that you've paid this. You also want to make sure that the year to date is consistent as you print your paycheck. Okay. Next thing you want to do is for every other depending on when your deposits are due, whether it's monthly or semi-weekly. Okay, so you want to ensure that every time you release a paycheck, whether it is every week, every 2 weeks, every day, whatever it is, that your deposits, meaning the money that you're paying, your liabilities match up, and making sure that it is accurate. Okay, so that's also very important that you make sure you make any corrections. For example, again, if you make any adjustments, let's say you miscalculated or you forgot to record overtime, you have to make sure that you make your adjustments. Now, again, oftentimes, your agencies may or may not have you guys pay a certain time period. Now, I don't know about Vegas because it's kind of different here. But what Intuit does is it actually pulls the database from those agencies, and they pretty much, like you when you sign up with them or when you go to the IRS, they will give you deadlines or due dates for when each tax liability are due. So it's good to make sure that every time you process your payroll, that you check it pretty often or frequently. And, if you're not that kind of person that does that, monthly or semi-weekly, every 2 weeks. And make sure that you print out those liability forms as well. And then every quarterly, you also want to make sure that at the end of the quarter that you wrap up your reports and make sure that you file your forms for the 941 and the 940. Those are your tax payroll tax liability forms. Okay, you want to make sure that you file those. and then again, it depends on the agency as well, but oftentimes, most likely, it will be a quarterly thing. Okay. And of course, every year you obviously want to make sure that all your year-to-date entries are correct. You want to make sure that you file your W-2 forms for your employees, et cetera, et cetera. And you also want to make sure that your payroll reports of the previous quarters and years to date are, accurate. So these are just responsibilities that you should have, especially when you are the payroll person. It's just so then your company does not get in trouble, especially if you miss a liability pay date, you will be heavily fined. Okay, don't think that you can get away with it. And as I mentioned before, if you are a small company, you are more likely going to have a longer due date versus someone who's a corporation that has, a million employees. Obviously, you can expect that they have to pay their dues every week because they are paying their employees. There are millions of employees, so they need to collect all this money. And of course, the federal agencies, they're going to be wanting to go after major corporations because they have the money. So smaller businesses can get away with it. Again, you guys can, depending on which agency it is, it can depend. You can pay every quarterly, and you can also submit a form to request to extend your pay dates because you're such a small company that you may not be able to afford it, especially when you're just opening your company. You're more likely to take a couple losses a couple months. So you can actually request a form to extend your time. However, if you do end up missing your pay dates, you will get a heavily fined, and it's not fun. Yeah. So the great thing about this is I'm going to show you the payroll scheduler. So you can set reminders to give you a notification of when you have a bill that's going to be readily due. So then that way you can keep track of your payments to your employees as well as your liability payments. Okay. So again, I'm going to go ahead and show you the employee center. So again, we come back to this page. A few things that here, again, we already have our payrolls on. So if you guys remember yesterday, this said turn on payroll. Now it's become payroll center. Okay. This is separate than what is on the employee center. So let me go to the employee center first. All right. There are 3 ways to get into the employee center, whether it's on the home page, the menu bar, or, sorry, I pointed to the wrong thing. The icon bar, right? You have your employees right there, and you also have your employees on the menu bar. Okay. So again, we take a look at this. It's very, very similar to your vendor centers with your customer center. However, the only difference is instead of keeping track of bills or invoices and payments and whatnot, your only thing that you're keeping track of is what paycheck you've actually written out. So here I am on Katie Reynolds. If I tap on a paycheck, as you can see, it pulls up a check. Now, again, there are a lot of ways that you can modify this. But again, we learned that if you're in QuickBooks, your general rule of thumb is you should never modify a check when it's already written. Your best bet is to, void the check and then write a new one. Okay, so again, the employee center is pretty straightforward, looks identical to the employee center, the vendor center and customer center. Okay. The only difference is this time now at the very top, when we didn't have our payroll services on, now you actually have the payroll center right up here. So you have your employees, your transactions you can do with them, and then you finally have your payroll option. So once we come here, you get a little nifty organizer right here. You have a little calendar that pretty much tells you what date you are on, as well as what pay period you are on. So this is very helpful, especially when you're scheduling your payments and scheduling your payroll. As you can see, I do have a few things that are due in my little corner up here. So this is how chapter 10 was talking about, is this section right here. This is going to be your payroll, or your payroll scheduler. This is how you can have multiple employees have different payroll dates. So example, if you have your salaries and wages people, your salaries, right? Typically salary people they usually get paid on the 15th or the last day of the month, where someone who's a regular hourly waged person typically gets paid every 2 weeks or every week, depending on what your company is or what your company does. But here, this is how you can use the payroll scheduler to schedule all of your payments, because not only do they give you a pay date or a due date, it's just a simple click of a button. So this is how you can use the scheduler to do this. Okay. Now, if you actually look at the very, 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 very top, you actually have 3 options at the top when you go into your payroll center. You have pay employees, you have your pay liabilities option, and you have your file forms. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to tell you this. We're going to talk about each section here, except for the file forms. File forms is meant for when you actually process your 940, 941s, as well as your W-2 forms. So this is where you can collect all that data or store it in this sense, so then you can match them to your employee center or your employees' forms, or their W-4 forms. You can keep track of them to all their year-to-date taxes that they've collected over the years, and then your 940s and your 941s are they keep track of all the liabilities that you've collected, and as well as all of the payments you've actually submitted. So again, there's a nice little place you could keep all your forms. It's pretty nice and generous. Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and come back to this section for here. Again, this is the scheduler for your employees. And then again, if you hit pay liabilities, we have a couple that are, they have a few that are due. And you can, again, utilize this to pay your liabilities. And of course, you have your activities at the very bottom. Okay. So again, checks that you've written or payroll process that you've completed. So here they are. Okay, and the amounts that you've written checks out for. So yes, and then good thing about this is you can yes, it's a like little calendar that lets you see where you're at, because sometimes we forget what days we are on. So in this case, it's showing me December 2019. Again, this file is a sample file, so it's going to only show you 1 week's worth of payroll services. So in this case, like I said, it's set to the date of December 15th, 2019. So that is the Employee Center, as well as introducing you to the Payroll Center. Okay, so again, if you activate the payroll services, you're going to have 3 things that are going to appear on your Employee Center. Under Payroll Center, you have 3 more tabs that you can utilize to go ahead and proceed. Okay. Now, when you actually process your payroll, okay, whether you're doing it manually or automated. So again, the automated section is actually going to do a lot of the accounting behind the scenes. So what often they say is what they do is make sure that you check to make sure that your tax tables are aligned with whatever tax tables you're supposed to be using. So again, with Intuit, they are using the latest and the greatest. So they, you know how they're always connected to the internet. So they're always pulling up the most recent stuff. But as a person who is working in payroll or HR, your duty is to make sure that those tax tables or tax numbers or percentages are accurate, because again, you want to ensure that you're not cheating the government, or the government's not cheating you, and that you're properly paying the taxes. So it's not necessary to have to basically double check the work that QuickBooks does, but generally it's just one of those little responsibilities that the payroll or the HR manager needs to know. Okay, and what do they mean by doing that? All right, so if you go to irs.gov slash publication 15, you're going to find that on that exact website, you are able to find the tax tables, okay? Now, there are a lot of tax tables on there because there are different forms for different uses of these tax tables. If you look at the very top, it will tell you section by section. This one's for electronic payroll systems. This one's for manual payroll systems, XYZ. So it will give you like an exact details of which one to use. And in this case, I just want to show you an example. So again, this is a payroll tax, the payroll tax table for manual payroll systems that are using the W-4 form for 2019. Okay, but these are 2020's, so 2020's tax percentage tables. So these are updated, right? And as we go into accounting and we actually look at manual payroll processing, I will explain what I am talking about. But typically, this is going to be the percentage method. So again, it tells you at the very top that this is for manual payroll process for W-4 form for 2019. So again, it's going to look something like this, and this is a percentage method. So again, if you guys have done tax before or are interested in tax, this may be something that you would like to do. Okay, so again, it depends on how much money an employee makes and what bracket they belong to. If they make over a certain amount but under a certain amount, then they get pulled into this bracket right here. So for example, if I had someone who made just between $600 and $1,700, they are going to be automatically taken $38 from their paycheck, regardless of how much money they make. The government's going to allow them to keep $609, and anything extra beyond the $600 is going to be subject to be taxed at a percentage. So 12% of it is going to be taxed. Okay, so again, that is what QuickBooks or the payroll services does behind the scenes. It calculates this all for you already. All you have to do is just verify that they're using the correct tax tables and percentages are correct. Okay. So that's one thing that you have to know, because they don't teach you or they don't show you what the tax tables looks like. And for those who are unfamiliar with payroll, that is what it looks like. All right, so then again, we just looked at that. So again, here, the tax tables here. So again, where can you find these tax tables? It's going to be irs.gov /publication 15, which is all about payroll. Okay. And yes, just give me a couple seconds. Now, again, that's that section right there. So the first section that we're going to be talking about is going to be paying your employees. So again, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our employee center. Okay, so here we are, employee center, and we're going to go into our payroll center, and we're going to go ahead and select our employees. Okay, pay our employees. Now, again, you can get to the employee center or the payroll center using the homepage, but that is only if you have it active. Okay, best way to get there is just go to your employee center, and you have the tab up here, or again, if you're on the homepage. So let me go ahead and review that section for you real quick. If you are on the homepage, again, it's going to be at the very bottom of your employee section right here, payroll center. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one since it's a shortcut. And it's going to take you to the exact identical place, which is, again, in your employee center. So we're going to go ahead and click and click. I cannot talk today. I'm sorry, guys. Today, so we're going to go to click on pay employees. And as you can see, we actually have one payroll readily for us to complete. So again, when you complete your payroll process, general rule of thumb is you should actually process these things a couple days before your payroll date or the day that you pay your employees on. For example, PETA, everything is processed by Wednesday, so the checks can arrive by Thursday. Friday is when it's set for people to go ahead and cash their paychecks. Okay, so every payroll processing has a sequence or a step-to-step roles, especially when you are the position that is paying your employees. So make sure that whatever system that you are using, if it takes a couple days for the checks to ship in or get mailed in, you may want to resort in maybe processing payroll on Monday, so then the paychecks do come in on time. The most important thing is that your employees that are waiting, they're waiting to get paid on that Friday. So the minute that Friday happens, they're going to be cashing out their check. Okay. So you definitely want to have checks available to be there on Friday. You never want to pay your employees or give them their paychecks after the pay date, because again, then you're employees are not going to want to work there anymore. So again, you're going to click this, and then you're going to click this button that says start scheduling the paycheck. Okay, so let me, my table's a little, so this one right here. Once you've clicked this, you're going to get a window. Now this is going to be looking at every individual's piece of information. So in this case, I am set on a semi-monthly payroll period, meaning I pay on the 15th and the last day of the month. So in this case, you never count the 15. You don't pay on the 15. You pay, you set the schedule to be paid on to have it available the very next day. So again, here you go. You want to make sure that you set the date to be either the 15th or the 16th. So again, my payroll is due on the 16th. I'm just going to assume that this is okay, that I am actually going to be setting, that I'm going to be doing it on the 15th. Again, every time you do this, your general rule of thumb is you can set the check date to be after you print the date. Make sense? You can always set dates ahead of time to make the checks available when you want the checks to be available. So again, in this case, I'm processing payroll on a Thursday. Actually, no, I think I'm processing it on a Sunday since it's the 15th. So, and I want the check to be available the next day. So I want to make sure that, my checks will be available on Monday. Okay? So you can set any days before that. If anything, I could be like, well, I'm going to set it on the 20th. Okay? That's just setting the paycheck to be available for the employee to cash out, not the day that you process it. So I'm going to I change it back to the 16th so my employees can have their money. Again, you want to ensure that it comes out of your checking account. And yeah, and you want to make sure that all these things look good, and you want to make sure that the number of employees are there. So again, other things that we want to do is pay check on check stock. Yes. Now, as a company, you're given the option to either buy that special check paper. It's that one that has that little microfibers to make it, what do you call it? To make the paper legal. They have that little microfiber, the red fibers in there, and it's like all shiny and whatnot, holographic. That is going to be a special paper. You cannot print on a regular printer paper. If that was true, everybody would be rich. Okay? It's a special paper you have to go to the bank to get, or you can have Intuit. Again, if you are using Intuit, maximize and utilize all its services, because you can order checks through Intuit. And they, again, if you're going to have these checks printed, you can actually have Intuit send you the paychecks as well. So you don't have to do anything. So we want to make sure that we have that, because we have the check. We're going to print the checks manually here at the location. So again, first things first is you want to double click on them, because when you double click on your employee, their item should pop up. In this case, it's not popping up. Come on, Katie. There you go. So now this is going to be you double checking and confirming their hours, as well as any extra information you need to add in here. So for example, I have Miss Katie Reynolds, and if I look at this little window here, she is salary based. That means her paycheck, she's so whatever amount that I gave her, which is $60,000, is going to be divided by the number of checks that I assign. So again, if I'm doing semi-monthly, that she gets a total of 24 checks. So that means every check that gets written is going to be for exactly $2,500. As we look here, okay, that is just her total compensations, okay? If we go down here, this is the total liabilities that is being currently, the benefits that we allow the employee to have. All right. So again, we allow a 401k plan, and as a deduction to them, she gets only 4%, and then we also get to, and we're matching only 2%. And then, of course, we offered medical insurance, so she's paying $100 out of her paycheck. So all of these piece of information is going to be deductions that take away from your paycheck, okay? Other things that you're going to be subject to is going to obviously be the employee tax responsibilities and liabilities. So again, here is their the 401k, their medical insurance, as well as the Medicare, the federal tax withholding, Social Security, XYZ, and also whatever taxes California charges. So again, this is exactly how you're going to be looking and double confirming that these are true. Okay, in a sense of looking at percentages. So again, you want to make sure that these are pulling out the information from the correct area. But again, QuickBooks or this payroll system calculates it for you automatically. It tells you, well, what's her total gross earnings? There, it's at the very top. What are taken out? So obviously the deductions are taken out first, okay? Except for, I believe Medicare is going to be, I think we said medical insurance is supposed to be taken after taxes are taken out, but in this case, it's before. So again, exactly how it's listed. Her first thing is going to be their deductions, okay? And then, yes, and then the next one is going to be the withholdings, okay? So withholdings come first, and then after that, whatever extra money that you have, that is where you're going to get taxed at, okay? So again, all these tax deductions are already calculated for you. So that means at the end of the day, her total paycheck that she's going to be written out for is going to be for 1814.53. So right here is the information. So again, year to date, so she's been with this company for quite some time. So you want to also double confirm here. And that's how you confirm, is making sure that every paycheck that you do go through, making sure that the calculations are correct. And in this case, QuickBooks, the only error you will have is going to be human. If you fat finger or typed in something wrong, it's most likely going to be a human error that will show up in QuickBooks. Okay, or so again, you're the one that's linking the accounts, you're the one that's creating the accounts. So overall, the calculations should be accurate when you're using QuickBooks. Okay, yes.
Yeah, I'm comparing what they're showing right now
Uh-huh.
versus the book.
Uh-huh.
The book shows check amount 1793.
1793. Okay, it's because, so the reason why it's that is because they do say at the very bottom of the table, it does say that because I am using, or right now, I'm currently in 2020, it pulled from the system the 2020 tax tables. Okay? If I open this up last year, it would show more accurate, okay? So that's one of the things that you have to keep checking, is making sure that your numbers and your your percentages that or the tax tables, they do match. Right now, because I'm using this exact file as of 2020, that's where it pulled the tax tables from. It might be actually pulling out because right now it's December. It might be actually pulling the newer one, which is 2021. Okay. So, yes. Okay, so again, at the very bottom, it should say that our tables may be different due to the year that we opened this file with. So again, yes, so here they give you all the line items that you're going to be taxed for at the bottom, and it gives you all the details of the breakdown of how they calculated what the paycheck should be. Okay, so again, yes. So, of course, before we do anything, what happened is that we need to adjust Katie Reynolds because not only is she a salary-based person, this is what we can do when you need to modify a paycheck. Okay? When you need to modify a paycheck, for the reason being is if someone called in sick, and if you offer certain benefits such as, or not benefits, or additional deductions or additional benefits such as sick pay or vacation pay, then you can go ahead and enter those items here. Okay, so in this case, it doesn't matter how many hours she worked here. The paycheck at the end of the day is still going to reflect to be $2,500. So in this case, I believe Katie Reynolds actually got some sick time. Is that right? Is it sick pay? It's vacation? Okay, so she got PTO. She got paid vacation time off. So when I go ahead and enter that item, what's going to happen is going to automatically split. Now, of course, we're not going to split this, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to identify that the total amount of hours that she worked for the salary is going to be 85. And then I think her sick was 5 hours, right? I mean, her vacation was, 3 hours. Yeah, she had 3 hours. So once you've done that, it calculates it for you, okay? Because it basically divides it as a percentage, right? Or it calculates it for you, saying, well, if she worked a total of 90 hours, right? Or, what is this, 88? A total of 88 hours. QuickBooks is going to automatically take that 2,500 and divide it amongst the 88 hours. So by me placing it in here by certain hours, it calculates it for me. So I don't have to I don't have to calculate how much sick time, how much vacation time, how much XYZ, right? So that's the cool thing about QuickBooks is if you set that, because when we set up Katie's profile, we acknowledge that she's a salary based. We acknowledge that she's going to earn $60,000 per year. So QuickBooks, again, automatically takes that $60,000, divides it by the number of paychecks that I assigned, which the payroll period is semi-monthly, making it 2 paychecks per month. So QuickBooks calculated it already, saying no matter what, at the end of the day, she's going to be earning $2,500 for every paycheck to equal the total of $60,000. Now, this is also where you can also tack in bonuses and override that in case it's like Christmas time, you give them a Christmas bonus. Then yes, you may tack it on and override this. Okay? But in this case, the example just says, hey, I that Katie Reynolds needs to adjust her time because she took 3 hours of vacation. Okay, so there you go. I adjusted it, and it's still $2,500 because she's salary based. And then, of course, nothing has changed here. But for any reason that you do make any changes to this particular window, that means the calculations for the taxes will change as well. So make sure that you be aware of in case you need to adjust someone's time or adjust someone's payroll for any reason, that you may be subjected to a different tax bracket or tax calculations. So if you're going to do that, make sure that you ensure that everything looks accurate. Okay? Next I'm going to do is save and close, or I can go ahead and save and next. If I go save and next, it's going to bring me up Mike Mazowski. Okay, so as you can see, here's Mr. Mike Mazowski. He is an hourly regular. His pay rate is 24 hours, and he worked a total of 80 hours. That looks fine. Is there any changes I need to make to Mike Mazowski? I don't think so. I think he's exactly this way. Okay. So again, he gets the same benefits as Katie because he's a full-time employee. So he gets taken away from his paycheck also the $100 for Medicare, as well as the 401k, and we match him. Okay. So his tax deductions are obviously going to be a lot smaller because he's receiving from us less than what Katie is actually making. So again, this is their tax tables. So again, see, looking at this versus a manual payroll system, yes, you can actually mess up, especially when calculating the percentage. But for QuickBooks, it does it automatically for you. All you would have to do is just verify that the numbers in your table match, and you don't have to do any calculation. So you can pull up an example file, or an example, or one of your employees, and just double check their work there. So now that this is good, I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Close. And now these checks are ready to be processed and paid. So again, I am having 2 checks. All right. Hold on, let me look at this again. So Katie is not hourly regular. She is salary regular. She claimed 85. So again, okay, there you go. So total amount is going to be 88 and 80 hours. Again, on their check, right? If we remember, when you double click on their name, the check amount is at the very bottom. So make sure that you know that this is how much each person is going to be written a check out for. So again, double confirm that it's for the checking account, and we can go ahead and click continue. Once we get that, once we press continue, there you go. You got the beep of approval, and it's going to say, hey, do you want to print the checks now? And your best bet is yes, you definitely want to pay them now. Okay, you can either print the paychecks, so yes. So here's the print paychecks option, right? You can also do this by going to, if you intend to do something else, you can do whatever it is, and at the end of the day, print them out. You can do that as well by going to File, Print Forms, and then you're going to select Paychecks. So yes, that's a second option that you can do here. So again, we've actually looked at this before when we print our pay, when we printed checks to pay our vendors. It's identical. They're the same exact thing. Okay, so if I click OK, right, we're gonna get the same exact print window. And again, the best form or the best style to print your checks is going to be voucher. Voucher is going to be the detailing at the top, and then right at the bottom is going to be the perforated check that you can tear and that you can deposit. So yes, so once we've done voucher style, it's going to print the pay stub as well as the okay. So again, of course, in order to validate the paycheck, you need a signature. So again, this one is you can print the signature on there, which we've done before, right? We go to File and we find that little image that we have already printed and scanned as our signature. So here, QuickBooks class, student portable files. I'm going to go into one of our classes here. Here you go. I'm going to print this. Okay. Come on. Okay. And click OK. So now you have the printed signature on there. Other things that you want to verify is to make sure that you actually place the printer paper in there, because the one thing that you can do is you can print multiple checks. The only thing is you have to make sure that if you do print them, you want to make sure you print them on the right paper, because I believe QuickBooks does allow you to print the same check. You just have to be careful if you send them out. Okay. So again, all that stuff is here. Unfortunately, I can't preview this paycheck. So yes, so what I'm going to do is I'm just not going to print it. I'm just going to go ahead and click cancel. Okay, so that's how you print your paychecks, and they will always be in your print forms window. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close out all my stuff. So again, I will also, so again, when we go back to your little window here, your payroll process has been completed for December 16. Here it is. Okay, and right now it's saying it's ready to be printed. Okay. Now, again, if you'd like to modify it for any reason, right? You want to modify it, you would actually have to go back to your little schedule window here. And what's going to happen is you're going to get pulled up that little window. But this is for January. This is for January, right? I don't want January. I want to go back to I will need to select the last pay period, which is this one, and go back to it. All right. And not January. I want to go back to December. Okay. Once you've done that, okay, now it's going to go pull the information from what you've done, what you previously had done. So that's like the only way that you can actually edit and modify. Let's say I forgot to see, if you look carefully, it says here that for my salaries, right, it's going to pull the same information. So if I click this, and now it's showing me this window. Okay, so here, okay, that's weird. It should have showed me the modified version. I mean the one that we had, because it's set for 85. Okay. But that's how you're gonna modify your stuff here, especially if, let's say, you've already printed the check. If you've already printed the check, okay, and you mailed it out to your employee, sorry, excuse me. If you mailed it out to your employee, then you're gonna have to actually find the check and void it. Now, how can you do that? You can go down here at the very bottom and click Edit Void Payment. Okay. and that's what you're going to do. Okay, so if you did print the check out already, then you have to modify it doing that way. But again, if you haven't done so already, which in this case I haven't done so yet, and let's say Mike Mazowski, I forgot that on the I don't know, on the 12th of December he didn't work. Then yes, you would have to actually verify and modify it by going to your payroll. Okay, so you cannot make any changes once you've processed your payroll. Okay, the only way to do it is by actually going into it and actually redoing the payroll and just making sure that you cancel those checks that you've printed before and modify it that way. Okay, so there are ups and downs to using the payroll system. Is that if you do make those mistakes or have to make adjustments, you just have to cancel everything and just reprocess it all over again. Okay, so here I've already set my checks already and XYZ, so I can they're ready to print now. Okay, so again, that's that section there to how to pay your employees. Okay.
Question again.
Yes.
Sorry.
No worries.
Granted, just like what you said, granted you made a mistake for the check that you have issued, either you overpaid or underpaid,
Mm-hmm.
and the check was already mailed. You just have to inform. Can you address that difference on the next pay period, or you have to? The best way is to void that check and reissue a correct one.
For government purposes or for federal tax purposes, if the amount that you underpaid them or overpaid them by, you definitely would want to adjust it for that exact pay period. Reason being is because, again, if you go over and you're in another tax bracket percentage, whatever it is, let's say you forgot to include overtime and Mr. Mike Mazowski claimed 5 hours of overtime. That is definitely going to push him over into the next bracket for the tax tables. And the one thing that you have to do is making sure that if that's the case, if that's the case, you want to make sure that he's being properly taxed for the correct amount. So that's going to be the crucial line right there. Now, yes, you can push it to the next pay period or the next pay period and just have them collect that money afterwards. But you want to be very careful with that. Reason being is because, again, if this tax period, you got taxed lower, and then the next tax period you got taxed higher, you want to be careful on that adjustment to see if they actually match up and line up. Because what if the next pay period you take a whole vacation off, a whole week off? Your paycheck is not going to look the same as it did the prior pay period. So again, you want to be very careful if you make that decision because, again, that's kind of a lazy way to say, I made a mistake, I'll fix it next period. So government, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pay you your money yet. Or I'm not going to go back and fix it so you can take more money from me. No. You would technically do it, adjust it for the same pay period. Now, oftentimes, the HR is not going to know whose paycheck to readjust. It's usually the employee that says, hey, my paycheck is wrong. Fix it for me. Okay, so And if you have to make those adjustments, yes, you would have to can't. The best way is if the checks are already printed and half your employees already cashed them out, you would just have to void that specific check. Okay. So in this case, it's a lot easier because we only have 2 employees. All right.
The reason I was asking is I had experience on that where I was underpaid, and what the HR did was issue another check for the difference.
Yes, you can do that too. But again, issue another check for the difference. Okay, so they didn't give you a brand new paycheck.
No.
Okay, so yes, you can do that too, but that also is also fine line of not properly paying the payroll taxes, because if your difference is only $100, you're not going to get taxed for it, because in the bracket you make only $100, you get zero taken out of your paycheck, and you get 0% 0% calculated. So that's going to be inaccurate. Now, what they can do is, what oftentimes is, they do write you a check for the difference, but they go into the payroll system, they adjust your payroll so it reflects the new amount with the adjusted amount, and they just write you a separate check for the difference. So in their books, it's accurate, but you're just receiving two checks, and usually properly they should send you 2 different pay stubs as well, one with the old amount and one with the adjusted amount. Okay. So yes, you can do that, but again, that's only if you are, again, in the position of HR or, in charge of the payroll. Okay, so that's how you do this, paying your employees. All right. Now, what you can always do too is, if you go to your print forms over here, and it says here you want to print either your checks, your credit memos, or you want your pay stubs to be printed, you can print them at any given time. Most cases, depending on your company, right? Your W-2 form is supposed to be a list, or not a list. It gives you the year to date of all the payments that the company paid you. So you don't actually need a pay stub, because the company's supposed to provide the W-2 form for you at the end of the year. So when you file your taxes, that's what it is. Now, pay stubs could be used for personal purposes. Obviously, your company is required to give you at least one copy of your pay stub to show you what the calculations are and what your year to date is, and et cetera, and tell you how many hours you actually worked. They cannot give you just the check. They have to, by law, give you at least one pay stub. Now, for someone like me, I actually have to submit my pay stub to my agency. Okay, so they can keep tabs on me too. So I need to have a copy of my pay stub. So for that kind of example, you can request this from your HR at any given time. Let's say I need all my pay stubs for the last 4 paychecks. You can print them. You just have to select the date and et cetera. But yes, you can keep a record of all the paychecks pay stubs that you are looking for. So again, these are your pay stubs. Actually, no, these are checks. I want pay stubs. Let me exit out of this. So I'm going to go to File, Print Forms, and I want pay stubs. Okay. So again, If I could, this one is the one that I can actually, so again, I can select, okay, Mike, where's Mike? Mike doesn't need his, only Katie needs hers, right? You could do that too. You could select it, and then you can preview it. I believe you can. Yes, you can preview it. So this is Miss Katie's pay stub, all right? So it gives the detailing on how much money she earned. It gives her the details of all the taxes she was taken out from. And it gives you details on exactly how much money she's receiving. Okay? So this one's going to be different from the one that you get printed on the pay, when you print your paycheck, obviously. That one's a little formatted a little nicer. This one is just in case you lose your pay stub for any reason and you just need a copy of it. This is it right here. So again, you can print pay stubs at any given time, whenever you need to, as long as you keep this filed away safely, whether it's in your company file, etc., etc. So yes. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this window. All right, any questions in regards to paying your employees? It is that easy. It is that easy. You don't have to do anything. All you got to do is just verify your numbers.
No calculations.
No calculations necessary unless you want to double check the work. Okay? Yes, a lot quicker. Everything's set up for you because you set it up yourself. All right? Okay, so here my checkpoint for paying my employees is done. Okay. All right, so the next section I have here is paying your liabilities. So if I go to pay liabilities, as you can see, I have two that are due. One of them is going to be for my federal 941 taxes and my California withholdings taxes. So I have to make those two payments. Okay. So again, similar to your to pay your employees, you're gonna click View/Pay. Okay. View/Pay. So again, this is the scheduler. It's telling you that, hey, you have two liabilities that you need to pay. So again, it's pretty straightforward. Same thing. You get this little check here because we've set this up yesterday. If you guys remember, we had the EF, TPS people already. So we already have those the agency in there already with all their information. So this is all us just simply paying the bill that we are required to pay. So again, every time we process our payroll, it automatically calculates how much each one is going to be placed in. All right. And in order to pay off that liability, you actually have to go to this window right here. If you look here, it gives you a breakdown of what this 940 includes. So as you can see, it includes the federal tax withholdings. It also includes the Medicare and the Medicare. So then I'm going to just double confirm and verify that these are correct and making sure that you're taking this money out of your checking account. The date, you definitely want to make sure that the date is accurate, that you set the date to be sent out and available. So again, you want definitely to be printed. You don't want to print it yet. And yeah, that's how you do it. You just press pay liabilities and it does it for you. And it calculates and gives you the amount of the check. And you just click save and close. That's it. And now here comes the second one. Now here is the list here of your payroll liabilities summary. Okay, so yes, you can build reports on this as well, saying, hey, you actually made a payment to this. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and click out of this or save it. I could either print the checks or print the summary or close. So I'm gonna close out of this. So now, once I've done that, what you're gonna notice is now my it should be in my transaction. So here you go, 12/16. I made a payment to the EFPTS people. Okay. And I still have one more check to verify or to pay. Now, question here is, why can't I just enter in a bill and use the bill payment option to do this? No, you will never receive a bill from the IRS requesting money from you. You are responsible to calculate all this amount, and what happens is at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, IRS is going to verify that their paperwork and the payments that you've made with the total calculations of your employees' amounts actually are, they match. Okay. Now, oftentimes, if for any reason, because they are keeping track of your books as well, they may require you to submit to the IRS, a sample file of your payroll service, of your payroll. Okay, just to make sure that you've properly calculated the taxes. And making sure that when you make your payments that it is verified with them as well. So again, this is dealing with a lot of taxes, especially when you're dealing with the government. So yes, for any reason that you may have underpaid or overpaid, they may require you to have that. So they are never going to send you a bill unless you forgot to pay. Then they're going to send you a bill saying you're going to get fined this much amount of money. So you have X amount of days to pay. That's the only circumstances they'll actually send you a bill. But for most of these, it's going to be automatic. You're not going to receive a bill. You can, if you'd like, to place a bill in to remind you. But the only thing is, if you do that in QuickBooks, what you're essentially doing is you're creating two liabilities with the same amounts to the same vendor. All right. So when you're dealing with payroll and your payroll items and your payroll taxes, it's already, by you setting it up when you need to make payments for, you are already setting up the liabilities right here. And every single month or every single time that you get a notification that you need your amount is due, your QuickBooks is automatically going to create a separate liability for all your payroll responsibilities. Okay? And the only way to decrease it is to use the pay liabilities option. You cannot just write a simple check because, well, first off, you don't know how much your amounts are going to be due. And second of all, QuickBooks is not going to associate or make any connections between you paying off your payroll tax liabilities versus paying a regular vendor. You can type in EFPTS, but it's not going to show up as anything. So that is the reason why if you're planning to pay your payroll liabilities at any given time, you must do it through the payroll services. Okay. Now, of course, if you are doing manual payroll, you are responsible to keep track of your own taxes as well. Now, what you can have is you can have a professional tax accountant be the one to be connected, be that bridge gap, so they can, keep you informed that, hey, your statements or your tax liabilities are due these certain days. And it's also on your not your 940 form as well, on what days you actually need to pay. So you need to submit that form again every time, depending on which agency it is. It could be every week, every 2 weeks, every quarterly, whatever it is. General rule of thumb to be the best accounting is to do it at the end of every paycheck that you write. Okay. But again, if you do manual, you're going to be responsible for that. And most oftentimes, just seeing how complex and how much you have to calculate not only the employee's paycheck, you also have to think about the employer's side of calculating all those taxes. So, for example, I didn't know that California charges disability, as well as I forgot what that other one was. But they charge extra taxes for absolutely, I have no idea, state taxes, right? So just like something like that, and that is exactly why oftentimes when you're dealing with payroll, it's always outsourced to another vendor, or you have something like QuickBooks that has a compatible service that uses QuickBooks to do everything for you. All right. So again, going back to paying liabilities, we have one more payment to make. So again, you're going to select this because it's due on the 16th. I'm going to click view and pay. So again, now it's to a different agency. It's not to the same one. For any reason, it is to the same agency. What actually happens is that they'll write that QuickBooks would just link both payments and just send them all out send them all into one, instead of making a payment for federal tax withholdings for this time and then Medicare for another one. No, it's gonna cram them all together and just have you pay for the whole amount. Now, question is, can you make partial payments? No, that is an absolute no. You cannot make partial payments. You have to pay everything by the due date. Okay? You may request extensions for those particular reasons, and they may validate your extension, or they may actually deny it and may fine you if you cannot pay. So that's like one of the most tricky things about being in a business is if you have your employees. Number one thing is you need to make sure you have enough money to pay them. But second of all, you need enough money to pay the government for having them. So that is one of those things. It's not all about making profit. It's not about paying yourself or getting all the money to yourself. Your responsibility is, if you have employees, they come with a really huge price tag. So again, here, the second check that I'm being written out to is to the Employment Development Department. So again, this one's going to be for your California taxes, so your disability, and so I guess you do get California withholdings as well. So again, we're going to make sure everything looks good. We verify the check number. We verify that everything looks good. The calculations looks good. I'm going to go hit save and close. And it's printed to be later. So then you're going to get that same form again saying, well, you have now this one to your payment summary. And I'm just going to click close. So right now, if I go to my window, go to file, and I go to my print forms, and I go ahead and click my checks that I need to be printed. Here, it is now showing me that I have my EFTPS, and my Employment Department Center. Okay, so then again, those ones need to have signatures and they need to be printed. Okay, so again, yes. So that is how you pay your payroll liabilities. Easy. Easy.
So you can either mail the check or you can do the just like what it shows there on the e-payment.
You can do an e-payment. I think general rule of thumb here is they actually prefer you to do an e-payment over a written check in the mail. Okay, but again, best form of doing business is to write a proper check, and you should definitely do checks just because it gives you a paper trail and XYZ. But yes, you can do a direct deposit if you'd like. You can set that up, obviously, through QuickBooks and connecting it to this. But in this case, we've actually are going to mail them out, each paycheck. Okay. Any other questions? No questions? All right. So, I will. So the next thing is going to be obviously what we've looked at in a couple times is going to be printing out your reports. What kind of reports can you have, especially when you're dealing with payroll? It's pretty straightforward as far as payroll. Just because, like, you know, when you're doing your employees and your payroll, the question is, what are you looking for when you're making your summaries for or your reports for specific items? So again, you can have the payroll summary, which we took a look at before. You could do by item in detail. So you know what? So who'd you pay for that are salary versus your hourly regular, and who claimed what. You could do that. You could do reports on your actual payroll transactions. You can even do things like looking at how you made your payments too. Okay, so again, it just really depends on what you are looking for in specific. So again, if I want to check out my payroll items details, I just pull that form up, and here, as you can see, I have all these paychecks, right, for salary regular. I have all these paychecks for salary for hourly regular, and here is this. So it pretty much gives you details on basically on your company and what items that you've written these out for. So again, every item, including your payroll taxes. So everything that's under your payroll item list is going to be listed out here. Okay. And yes, so I mean, honestly, it's going to depend on what you're looking for, especially if you are the position that is handling your employees or their paychecks and whatnot. It's just going to depend on what you're looking for. So again, other things, pretty much what you can do is all of those. Now, we didn't talk about workers' comp, but it is definitely something that you want to look into. Again, that is a company liability protection for in case your employees do get injured in or at the job. And if they choose to file a claim against you, that's going to be protection against you. But another thing too is you need to be responsible for whatever happened in the company. So for example, if Mike Mazowski was trying to take pictures and he tripped or something over a rock or something, and he broke his ankle while taking pictures. Unfortunately, that is going to be considered workers' comp because he was working on the clock and he got injured. So you may have to either compensate him, obviously, for the time off, pay for a portion of his medical bills. It just depends on what this employee is going to potentially do. If they file a lawsuit because you're not doing anything, then that's what the money is there for. Okay, so you want to be, it's also there for training purposes as well. So you want to make sure that you understand what you're getting into, especially when you have that workers' compensation. And again, other things you can do is you could do contact list, etc., pay time off. Again, the reports are going to be based on whatever you are looking for. Okay, and okay, so editing paycheck. So again, you're going to have to just void the paycheck and then have to re-enter in all the details. Payroll liabilities, we already talked about. So again, we're actually completely done with this chapter. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go over the review questions real quick. And we're actually going to go do a couple problems in the book. So, yeah, so then we at least have some exercise in here, as well as you guys don't leave too early. All right, so again, here you go. Review questions. All right. All right, number 1. Okay. To properly affect the payroll items, okay? Which functions, okay, from the employee section of the home page should you use to pay the payroll taxes?
D.
D, yes, you're gonna have to use the pay liability. Excuse me, I'm gonna get some water. Yes, you have to use the pay liabilities option. You can enter in a bill, but then you're gonna double up your bills and your liabilities will never decrease. Okay, QuickBooks will not make any associations or links to paying your bill when you use to pay the payroll tax liabilities. There is a section for it. All right. Number 2, voucher style checks, okay, when used to processing payroll may contain what?
D.
D, all the above, yes, because voucher style, again, it literally gives you your pay stub, which should have all the information that is in regards to making the payment to your employee, including all the taxes, including all the adjustments, and including the federal section as well, okay? Number 3, okay? The payroll liability balance report identifies
B.
B, liability amounts by payroll item. Yes, B is the correct answer. Okay, so again, if you want to look into more detail on that, it's the last section under report. So make sure that you read that and understand that. All right, number 4. Number 4 says, which statement is true?
A.
A. Yes, you can print pay stubs at any time. You don't need to schedule them. You never usually have 2 on one. Yes, you can print them at any time. You don't have to schedule or anything like that. Lastly, number 5, okay, to begin processing your payroll.
D.
D, you need to choose the pay employees from the employee section of the home page. Yes, you do actually have that option too. I forgot to go over that when you are actually on the home page and you, let's say you do need to pay your employees. So again, you do have the payroll center here. You have the option to pay your employees, pay your liabilities, or enter your forms. Okay, so technically your payroll center, if you activate it, is also right here. Okay, but yes, you can also do it through the payroll. You also can do it through the employee center. All right, good job, everybody. Okay, so we're going to be doing the payroll practice problem when we come back from the break. We'll do problem, let's do problem number 2 since it's longer, okay? All right, so please be back. Let me see. It is now 10:02, so I'll call it 10:05. Please be back by 10:20. So 15-minute break.